I ran a 5-room dungeon called The Trials of Friendship in my Dungeons & Dragons home game, and judging by my players' reactions, it was one of the worst adventures ever. But even though it may be the worst in their eyes, I still think it was one of the best things for my campaign overall, and thus might be great for you and your players as well. One man's trash is another man's treasure, after all. And if not, it may be just the perfect thing to torture your players with anyways. Who am I to tell you what to do? This will be my entry to this year's Dungeon Tubers Dungeon Jam, a huge collaboration put on by the folks over at Mystic Arts, Nagobi, Lunatic Dice, and Paladin Prose, where all your favorite creators create a 5-room dungeon. This is in hopes to create a catalog of modules like the olden days that you can take and run at your tables. So check out the playlist in the description when we're all done here. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the 5-room dungeon, it's actually less of a literal dungeon with 5 rooms, but a story structure you can apply to any adventure. Wilderness exploration, city adventures, roleplay structure, sci-fi space battles, etc, etc. And can be applied to any genre or system, not just D&D 5th edition. The purpose is also to provide an easy, short storyline to give the DM a better option than planning the next 5 floors of the mega dungeon the players are in. Instead, just plug in a quick 5-room adventure into the middle of a story and you're off to the races. The 5 rooms apply to any 5 locations, but each location can be grouped into multiple locations. For example, the first room or location of the 5-room dungeon is Entrance or Guardian. A challenge at the beginning of the dungeon gives a good reason why the location or mystery remains intact until your players arrive there. This could be a cleverly hidden entrance, a trap, a special way of opening the entrance, a fence or rushing river keeping people at bay, a large golem or army protecting it, or whatever your mind comes up with. This could be any one of those things, or it could be all of them. Perhaps the first room has a golem, but the players skirted by, and in the second room is a door that requires a key. They need to go back, defeat the golem, and obtain the key within its chest. Technically 2 rooms, but still one in purpose. What this room does is gives the players a sense of accomplishment early, knowing they made it past where so many others could not. But before we get into the next room, let's start going over how I applied it in my home game. My players were just about to go into an undead city with a little bit of a time crunch, but before that happened, I needed way more time to prepare. We had just gotten a new player and the party had a lot of disagreements with decisions on where to go or what to do. So I implemented this 5-room dungeon as a little side quest to give me the time that I needed, as well as possibly help encourage teamwork. So they found a wicked hag who was actually a kind witch in disguise, wanting to help the party with their much needed TLC. So she banished them to a 5-room demiplane where we meet our guardian, a 10-foot magnetic golem, and words written on the wall that read, "A loving embrace removes all hostilities." After the golem started attacking the players with magnetic blasts, the players found out quickly that in order to pacify the magnetic golem, they needed to all get in a group hug, opening the door to the next room, which obviously the non-hugger types weren't a big fan of. Luckily, the room had a anti-magic shell around it, so no plane shifting out. But now they knew that if they followed the writing on the wall, they would continue to the end of this dungeon. As we move to the second room, it follows the rule of the second room, a puzzle or role-playing challenge. The purpose is to break up the action of the fight of the Guardian. The entrance cannot be solved with just brute strength, shining a light on other players that prefer slow intellectual challenges. Some examples being an NPC that needs to be coerced, a Sphinx riddle, a slide puzzle, underwater levers, a lake of lava, or anything else. Mine was a room with a circle of chairs, not unlike study clubs or AA meetings. Each player had a chair and a corresponding light attached to it. The writing on the wall was, when you see something beautiful in someone, speak it. Their task was to speak a sincere compliment to the person across from them. Once they did, their light would turn on, signifying their success. If they did not speak a compliment, it would follow the rule of, if you can't say something nice, then don't say anything at all, and the silence spell would be cast on them. Some characters tended not to speak kind words of other characters often, so this was a chance to dig those out. If you wanted this to extend further, each time all the lights turn on, the chairs shifted, so each player had a new person in front of them, starting the process over until each player had heard from everyone else. Then the next room opened up. The third room is the trick, or setback. Its purpose is to build tension. They thought giving compliments or figuring out a riddle was easy? Well, think again. They may even think that this is the last room with the treasure before revealing it as a false reward. Hostages might be enemies, a shortcut is actually a trap, a wrong decision takes you back to room 1, a MacGuffin is broken and need to figure out how to fix it, the NPC you seduced in the roleplay challenge betrays you, a curse that weakens the party or expends resources. You get the idea. They may find out about the trick here, or they may find out about it at any other point as they continue through the dungeon. So in my third room, I prepared it for a couple of my players who were hoarding magic items. You know the type, they pick up magic items they can't use, and instead of seeing if another party member could make better use of it, it just rots away in an inventory space. So the empty room had only the words, "Seek joy in what you give, not what you get," written on the wall. This was an opportunity for the players to give gifts, to take some of what is theirs and give it to someone else. Because once the players crosses the threshold into the next room, they will take a level of exhaustion for every magic item they still have as the weight of greed presses upon them. And this was during the liminal space between editions of D&D 5th edition, where you could have up to 10 exhaustion levels before you died, but could easily work with dealing damage or other consequences as well in your games. Needless to say, even after giving gifts, one player came really close to death. But as this whole 5-room dungeon was really roleplay focused, I wasn't worried about the exhaustion being that bad of a consequence, even though it may have felt like it. Moving on to the 4th room, we follow the rule of climax, a big battle, or a conflict. You think the conflict is at the end? No, this is where the big bad guy comes with all of his glory. It is the problem that leads to the greatest consequence. All your other rooms have led you to this as you compile your clues and use every player's skills to accomplish this hurdle. My 4th room, of course, didn't have to be a dragon or a lich, but it was the greatest enemy of all, time. There was only a single clock in the room that was ticking by hours and days in a matter of seconds. On the wall it read, "Unless you take the time to know someone, you don't." The purpose was for them to actually get to know each other, to ask a question to another character that they did not know. Sometimes backstories go unexplored and characters feel unimportant unless questions are actually asked. This room hoped to rectify that with the consequence of passing time. The players seeing days go by when they know that time is precious, especially getting to that undead city with their time pressure. But alas, they defeated time, got to know each other a little bit better, and entered the final room. The 5th room is the reward, the revelation, or the plot twist. This room represents what the players get when they succeed, but also what they get when they fail. It is often the obtaining of information they need to get where they need to go next, which might even share the same room as the 4th room. It is the chest of loot, the real MacGuffin, an antidote, an NPC saved, a completion of the quest. But it also could include a twist. The NPC doesn't want to be saved. You realize the boss monster wasn't on the wrong side after all. The antidote also comes with a price, or the chest belongs to someone else. Will the party return it to its rightful owner? In my dungeon, the 5th room was an extension of the lessons in the other rooms. They found a room full of crafting tables for every craft. It had cobbler's tools, smithing tools, leatherworking tools, all of the tools. On the wall it read, "Those that are happiest are those that serve the one." The challenge here was the reward, that they were able to create any magic item they wished for any one person in the party. And they did, to hopefully turn their mind into the service of their fellow players. But I also included a twist, for when they were all done and teleported back to the Nice Witch, the consequences of time they lost in room 4 resulted in what they had feared, the destruction of the planet that they were on. They got to watch the planet break apart and crumble as they ran out for their Spelljammer ship and took off. They dodged flying asteroids as it exploded, eventually the ship breaking apart, and they became subject to the airless void of space and died. Or so they thought, until the Nice Witch dispelled the illusion and congratulated everyone for a job well done, revealing that actually no time had passed while they were in the demiplane, and they arrived back at the exact moment that they left. And now that they had experienced the worst that could happen, there should be no fear going forward. And of course, my players just wanted to kill the NPC and hated all of the therapeutic roleplay. And let's be honest, Therapy isn't often fun, and I am no therapist. But if you are perceptive, the dungeon also follows the structure of the 5 love languages, a book on how everyone gives and receives love or affection differently, where to one person a hug and a compliment means everything. That's me. Another needs to receive a gift in order to feel validated or loved. Everyone is different. So the players made it past the first room by giving physical touch, the second room by giving words of affirmation, the third room by giving gifts, and the fourth room by giving quality time, and then the fifth room by giving an act of service. And the author of the book, Gary Chapman, is a therapist, so take his word, not mine. So maybe this 5-room dungeon may not be the funnest for some players, but I feel it gave them better tools to work as a team and validate each other as our adventures continue. After all, we know that the power of friendship is the one thing that can defeat any evil. I included the 5-room dungeon in the link below for free, and feel open to change it up as you feel necessary, as it works for any level party. Again, this was taken straight from my Spelljammer home game, which, if you wanted to watch, you can access all 83 episodes on my Patreon, as we just wrapped up the campaign a couple weeks ago. And make sure to check out all the other 5-room dungeons from other amazing creators as well. But, as this is a sensitive time for me, please stick around for another personal message. Now, as we are at the end of the video, I wanted to share something more of a personal note. I debated sharing this on my channel because I don't like drawing attention to my personal life or misusing the platform that I have built, nor your trust. However, if I can't use my own platform to bless and help my own family, then why do I even have it? That said, me and my wife are about to give birth to our first baby boy named Atlas. In fact, as this video is pre-recorded, we are likely currently staying at an out-of-town hospital in preparation for the birth or waiting recovery in the NICU. Unfortunately, our little Atlas has developed with spina bifida, a condition where normally a portion of the spinal cord bulges from the back. In his special case, it is an open wound to his spine, which has many medical implications which I won't go into detail here. This will require a few surgeries immediately after birth and continual care as he grows up, depending on the severity of his condition, which we won't know at length until he is born. If you would like to help, or just as a thank you to my many years of making videos on this channel, there is a link to our GoFundMe page in the link below. You can find more information there. We are confident our monetary goal there will help us immensely in his first year of life, as we want to focus less on where our next paycheck and money is going to come from, and more about just loving our firstborn child. If you would like something in return for your donation, you can also support me on Patreon, where you can access the Everything tier for just $10, get my whole library of ongoing D&D homebrew with subclasses, magic items, and more, and then you can unsubscribe again right after. This will all go towards Atlas and his continual health. With his whole world literally riding on his back, you can see why Atlas was such a perfect name. If you could help lighten that load, my family will be forever grateful. In whatever case, thank you all for continuing to support my family by watching my videos, commenting, and sharing your amazing ideas with me. I may be taking a small break in video content here soon for obvious reasons, but until then, go out there and make your world a better place.